Assalamu alaikum and welcome to this week's edition of Bookbytes. It's a nice, cold, perfect weather for reading and perhaps for writing, if you're that way inclined. I look forward to chatting and welcoming on the show this evening South African author Jayne Bauling, who's written well over 20 novels. She's got an amazing range of novels. Her first novel was launched in 1978. She's published 17 romance novels at Mills and Boon. And when she moved to White River, after spending many years in Johannesburg, she decided to change her writing style. Jayne Bauling has a number of young adult series to her name. Her works have been commended in various international and local awards. She's won the Macmillan Writers Prize for Africa, the Macmillan Longman Literature Prize, and she's twice been awarded the prestigious Sanlam Prize for Youth Literature for some of her young adult novels. And we've got some exciting, discussion around how one of her series, the Soccer Season series, is now being presented or prepared for television. Jayne Bauling, welcome so much. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for giving us your time this evening. Welcome to the show. I've had such a great time reading your latest Smoke Across the Sun. So I know we're going to have an exciting chat.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes. Glad you enjoyed it.
So let's start right off. You've been writing for 40 years. And, the experience of writing, the expression and the change. Tell us about your journey as a writer.
Yeah, I suppose, I started as most writers do, with very high hopes. And the romance writing became very much a comfort zone for me. And I'd always wanted, that to be a temporary thing. And I think I stayed there too long because by the end I was getting, a bit frustrated, So I'm glad I eventually made the move to young adults stories, a bit more, robust content, I would say. Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed Smoke Across the Sun because what was really special for me was it's very engaging, not just for youth readers, the kind of topics that you cover in a very entertaining way. And, your characters were extremely engaging. They in an adventure, but they're so thoughtful around how they engage each other. And then you've got the story about these wild horses, which really got my attention. Speak to us about Smoke Across the Sun and, bringing the characters to life, as it were.
Um, yes, I'd always, witnessed and know of adoptions, especially interracial adoptions. And I'd always had my own questions about that, regards to the naming of your child, how much of his or her culture you instill as a parent. And well, I think Emilia is quite, I don't want to generalize and say all teenagers, but she's typical of many teenagers. She's quite a judgmental girl at this stage of her life. There are no shades of grey. So I think she's quite hard on her mother because she feels very frustrated about not knowing what her origins are, where she's come from, who her birth mother was. So yes, and she was quite a challenge to write, I think. I just partly I find myself with my young adult novels writing more novels from a male point of view. So it was a change for me, not unique though, to write from a girl's point of view instead of a young man or a boy's.
So, aside from, you cover some very significant conversation discussion through the themes, but what is it like writing from a teenage perspective? She's about 16 in the 15 or 16 in the book. So,
16, yeah.
and not just writing a teenager that we might be familiar with, but a current, a contemporary, a today's kind of teenager. And you get this. I'm saying it because you get this across very, very clearly. What is it like? What does it take to put yourself in the shoes of a teenager?
Uh, well, I'm lucky in that I'm exposed to a lot of teenagers ever since I moved to White River. Have been through schools, and I also at one stage was doing reading exam papers for concession learners. So I got to know the attitudes, the way they talk, the beliefs, as I say, how judgmental they are. And I try to keep up with that because they're changing all the time. For instance, the language, that's why I don't try to use too much contemporary slang and so on because it changes within months. But there are certain attitudes that I think are universal and cross over the various decades that all teenagers, I think teenagers now have a very challenging life, more so than we did. And also that they're also much more conscious of their rights and more, willing to speak out and to speak up, I think.
And that comes through very strongly because Amitle has very strong opinions about who she is, even while she's trying to interrogate where she comes from. And so her anger and her grappling with her parents and their broken relationship. I mean, she's so involved in, and quite rightly, as children tend to be very observant about the space around them, and very strong about their opinions around it. So that comes through. And then she has this relationship with this friend that she makes with Cole, and she's grappling with that as well. I found that quite, your choice of, tell us about your choice of, characterizing Cole and his being on the spectrum and taking on neurodiversity as a subject.
Yes, I don't think I would be able to write, certainly not without a great deal of thought, from the point of view of someone with autism as he is. But so is experienced through her eyes more than experiencing. He's actually one of my favorite characters. I liked him very much. I enjoyed writing him and his attitudes. Um, I I'm a great believer in primary sources, and I have been exposed to autism among young people because I wouldn't just come in cold and write about somebody um, with any condition, whether diabetes or anything, without you know a primary source consultation, observation, um, because it would be presumptuous of me, certainly.
Well, I think he comes across as, uh, he gives the reader a lot to think about, because as much as he seems detached or removed, you find Cole being, allowing you to observe the story um, more deliberately. Maybe I think that definitely was my experience. I was observing and waiting for
Mm.
his responses, and I enjoyed
Yes,
that. And then the
yes,
racial dynamic, very
sorry.
provocative racial dynamic between them.
Yes, yes. I think, he's a very together person. He knows who he is. And and I think quite a lot of his wisdom comes through in parts of the book, though Emile misunderstands him at least one or two points in the story. But he's, you know, he's quite a clued up young man, I think, and he understands her. Eventually, he has the challenge of not understanding her, and his mother's advice, and should he have a list of what he ought to say to girls, etc. But he knows. what he wants and where he's going, I think.
I agree. And I think because of the way that you've characterized them, a vast range of readers would be able to identify with your characters and with your story. I've often heard that horses have an affinity for children or just a kind of a healing sense towards children, and I've often been recommended that it's good to have children engage with horses, and so that's what I loved about the story, that they often find the space in the clearing in the forest where they can actually observe these wild horses. I thought that was a really beautiful sort of aspect of the story. Smoke Across the Sun. Tell us about the title.
Uh, it just came out of nowhere. I live in a forestry region, so fire is a reality in the dry season. And there have been many times where the sun's almost blotted out by the smoke of fires on the plantations. And so it just, I think it probably came to me about halfway through the story. I don't plot my stories very much, but I did basically know where this one was going and how it would end and what would be the high point of the external drama with the fire on the plantation. And the horses of Kaapsehoop have always fascinated me, and it's partly why I have that, especially between Cole and the horses, that relationship, because I've been to riding establishments in outside of Johannesburg in Walkerville, where one of the things they do is a kind of therapy with children with autism, with interacting with the horses, riding the horses, and they they love the horses. I've always observed that, so it was something that I particularly wanted to bring into the story.
And talk to me about you've got the soccer season series that you developed that's being.
Yes, um, that's very exciting for me. It's a trilogy of novels, and it's being the film or films have the three segments, and it's quite unusual that each segment has a different director. So I had the opportunity to spend 3 days on the set just recently. They were mostly working on book three with the director Itumeleng Maklabani, and it was just such a revelation for me to see how hard the young actors work there, because there are a lot of physical scenes because of the soccer, of course, and doing it over and over again. It was really astonishing to me. I've never been on a movie set before. I lost you.
Something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Perform Kurbani on behalf of a loved one. Simply visit us at sanzaf.org.za to purchase your share. Africa, 750 Rand, and South Africa, 1,980 Rand per share. With every Kurbani, 15 Rand will be donated towards the Masjid Waqf. Call us on 011 834 6046 for more information. Sanzaf, changing lives through development and relief.
This Eid, many refugees will be unable to afford meat to feed their families. That's why the Al Imdad Foundation's Fresh Cut Kuribani project allows you to share your sheep with Syrian and Palestinian refugees and other needy families. Share your Kuribani for 3,650 Rand, which includes slaughter, slicing, packing and distribution under the personal supervision of the Al Imdad Foundation's team. Share your Kuribani today. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information. Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
So before the break, we were talking about the young adult series by Jayne Bauling. We spoke about, so you've got the soccer season series being prepared for television, and your Harmony High series that's you've got almost is it 9 volumes. Talk to us about those and about getting across from your written script to getting a series ready for television.
Yes, I'd always heard how much novels are changed for the screen. So I was quite pleased when I read the scripts for this because, they brought in outside writers that they had been very faithful to both my characters and my story. The only really major change is the setting because my 3 soccer novels were set in the Cape Flats. And the team they play for now is the Soweto Kickers. So it's in and around Gauteng, the matches they play and where they live and so on. So yeah, it's really exciting. And you asked about the Harmony High series from the same publisher, Cover to Cover Books, and that's also quite an unusual setup because the stories are written by different authors. I think I read book 9, I'm not too sure now, but other authors have contributed to the series. So each story is a standalone, but the Harmony High School is the thread that runs through them all.
So when can we look forward to seeing the television version of the soccer season series?
Well, I know the producers are hoping to have it ready by November to tie in with the World Cup of soccer, but they think that might be cutting it a bit fine, so more likely early next year. And
that's wonderful. That's
yes.
wonderful, yes. And I know that Smoke Across the Sun is going to have a lot of happy readers. It's available across at all the bookstores. What can we look forward to from your pen in the near future?
Well, always the big thing is the next novel. I had a novel that was shortlisted for the last Sanlam series called Looking for Let's See, but I wrote it and also I wasn't well at the time, and I feel it was half a story, and I need to go back to that and write the whole story. And something I'm always doing, I write a lot of stories for Funza Literacy Trust, which is probably my happiest writing experience at the moment. because the stories are published online and the feedback from the young readers is immediate. And I like the length of the stories because it's longer than a conventional short story, so I can do more with it, but it's not as long as a novel. So you haven't got that daunting prospect of giving up months of your life to write the story. So that's probably my favorite thing at the moment, is writing for Funza.
That's wonderful. Is Funza on mobile, right? You can actually get stories read on the app.
Yes, it's data free. Maybe I don't know if people can Google Funza because it comes up immediately. The link comes up, and there's several platforms on which it can be read. But it became data free about 2 years ago now, so that's a huge advantage for
I
the
think it's
younger
fantastic
readers.
in getting the youth to read because, being able to read on their phones, which is, I think most of the youth these days are reading from their mobile devices. So the .mobi format has become so much more amenable. I think it's wonderful that you're writing for that platform as well.
Yes, yes. I must say I love it. And there's a new story from Funza every week, and I think they're looking at doing more than one a week now. So it's fantastic because the library they have is growing all the time because the stories are always available. Once it's gone up, it's pretty much permanently available. So new readers are coming on board all the time.
That's fantastic. Jayne, thank you so much for your time this evening and for giving us some insight, a window into your writer's world. I know that you will enjoy creating many more, and your readers will engage and enjoy a lot more of your stories as they come. I certainly hope that my audience will be picking up copies of Smoke Across the Sun, especially as it's published by Minimal Press in South Africa, and perhaps some of your international literature as well.
Yes, I hope so. And yeah, it's been a pleasure talking about it and remembering all the writing.
And I hope that we can meet in one of our festivals this year because it's been a while. So we can chat more about books and writing over coffee sometime.
Yes, that would be great. I look forward to that. Yeah,
I wish you
always
everything of
enjoy.
the best and keep
Thank
warm and keep safe.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to be on. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks.
And so there you have it. On this week's edition of Book Bites, we got to speak to award-winning author Jayne Bauling about her fascinating array of books, the exciting new a young adult Smoke Across the Sun, a young adult novel, and the soccer season series, which will be available as a television series early next year. Look out for that and get your kids reading these fascinating locally curated stories. That's it from Book Bites this evening on this Sunday. Keep well and keep warm. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.